she was like, so can I see your new tattoo? And I was like, what? Like, how did you know about that? Hey everyone, it's your girl Layla. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do a story time video today because it is like the perfect time for story time right now. I don't know if you guys can tell behind me, but it's like snowing and it's actually really pretty out there. I'm not looking forward to going out and driving in this weather, but right now while I'm filming it's really pretty and I have my iced coffee with me and I just felt like I wanted to do a story time video. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. I upload 3 times a week. And let's get started with today's video. So I wanted to do the story time for a while. Actually, I have a few story times that I wanted to do for a while, but this one in particular I've kind of wanted to do for a while. I kind of briefly mentioned it during like my getting my first tattoo video back in like 2014. If you guys want to check that out, this will be part of my either my story time or my piercings and tattoos playlist. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but that particular video is in my piercings and tattoos playlist. So I kind of briefly touched on it back then, but I wanted to do like a full story time dedicated to this because it's kind of funny. And I'm getting a tattoo next month. Actually, I just made an appointment a couple days ago. I'm gonna be getting some florals on my arm here. I do want a full sleeve eventually, and I also want to do a video on watercolor tattoos because most of my tattoos are actually watercolor, so I want to do that in the future. But today I wanted to talk about getting my first tattoo and sharing it with my mom, how I told her, etc. Okay, I want to do a little bit of a backstory first. So my mom is a first generation Canadian. She got her citizenship back in like 1999. She moved here probably like 1990, I want to say, from the Philippines. So she's very traditional Filipino Asian mother, you know. She's always like been super strict with me. She's been super strict on my education and me dating, all of that stuff you can imagine. You can relate to me if you're Filipino, you can relate to me. Looking at me now, you wouldn't expect me to be traditional Filipino, but I was definitely raised very strict Filipino Catholic background, you know. Like, I don't even know if the word is like traditional, but I was raised very strictly, if that makes sense. So my mom was always like super strict on me. I wanted to get a tattoo since I was in high school, to be honest with you. I didn't know what I wanted back then, so I'm really glad I didn't decide to just get one when I was 18, because I probably would have been coming on here and telling you guys how much I regret my first tattoo. But I don't. I waited until I was 22 years old to get my first tattoo. So basically what happened the months leading up to it, the years leading up to it, I guess. So I had casually mentioned it probably a year and a half before I actually got my tattoo. I casually explained to my mom, like, hey mom, like, I really want a tattoo and I really want to get one on my arm, blah blah blah. I was like explaining to her what I wanted and she's like, absolutely not, you're not getting a tattoo. Keep in mind I was like 21 at this time. So she was like, no, you're not getting a tattoo. And then a full year and a bit later, probably like August, a couple months before I booked my tattoo appointment, I had actually mentioned to her that I was going to be getting a tattoo for my 22nd birthday. And she was just like, no, you're not getting a tattoo. And I'm like, yes, I'm getting a tattoo for my 22nd birthday. I want a quote on my collarbone. I wanted to say, this too shall pass. And my mom was like, what does that even mean? I had to like explain it to her. And then she was like, no. She's like, if you want a tattoo so bad, you should get one on your ankle and you should get a flower. And guess what? Guess what? Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I am flexible, but look at that. So I did eventually get a flower tattoo on my ankle, like she mentioned I should get, but that was not my first tattoo. So she was like, you should get a flower on your ankle if you want to get a tattoo. And I'm like, no, I want a tattoo on my collarbone. I always thought about the placement when I was trying to figure out what I wanted as my first tattoo. I always thought about placement and the type of words, the type of quote that I wanted to get, and this quote just had stuck with me for so long. I was like, I'm getting that and I'm getting it on my collarbone. So I told her that back in like August, and I kind of casually mentioned it, like, I'm getting a tattoo, I'm getting a tattoo. And then she didn't really, I don't think she really thought I was gonna actually go through with it. But so toward the end of September, this was like 2014 by the way, my friend and I were going to the gym, and I had briefly talked to one of my coworkers that day because she had just recently gotten a tattoo, and I was like, oh, like, where's your tattoo artist? Do you recommend him, etc, etc. Oh yeah, like, I'll give you his name and where he tattoos. It was a little tattoo shop, like hole in the wall tattoo shop in kind of like a shady ass neighborhood. It was called TikTok Tattoos. It's definitely not there anymore, but it's like beside this Filipino restaurant. And so I was like, yeah, like I totally want to do that. So on the way to the gym, my gym was pretty close to this area. I told my friend, I'm like, we're making a quick stop. I'm making an appointment to get a tattoo, and I'm getting it like hopefully this week. So she was like, okay, cool. So we went to the tattoo shop. I didn't know if I was supposed to make an appointment or not, and tell me why they were still open at like 8 p.m. on a weekday. I don't even know. I feel like tattoo shops usually generally close around like 6 p.m. or something like that. They don't usually stay open too late. At least the tattoo shops in my town right now, they don't stay open that late at all. I talked to the tattoo artist. I had already like printed out exactly what I wanted, and I basically designed this one myself. Like, I went online onto dafont.com, picked a font, typed it up in different kinds of fonts just to see which one I liked better, and I ended up picking the one I picked, obviously. So I printed it out on a piece of paper, and then I added the like dandelion and the birds to it. So I printed it out in a bunch of different sizes, and I went to the tattoo shop that day on the way to the gym and showed him what I wanted, and I was like, can you do this? When are you available, etc, etc. And he said, you know, later on that week you could do it on the Friday. And then basically I just ended up going there on the Friday. I think it was like at 5 p.m. and I was like telling my friend, I'm like, can you come with me, because I'm super scared and I want you to like film it for me. So she ended up coming there and meeting me after work, and yeah, I ended up getting tattooed. And the guy was like, he wrapped it up for me, and he was like, take this off in about 2 to 3 hours, rinse it off. And then he told me to buy this specific cream, and I have been using it ever since then. It's so, I had planned to actually go to my friend's house that day. We were gonna stay out late so that I wouldn't have to come home very early, and then my mom be there, and then I'd have like this tattoo, like this huge bandage on my chest, and she'd be like, what in the hell did you just do? So I basically was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna stay out till maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. We're gonna watch some movies, etc. So by like midnight I was like, shit, I need to take this off and I need to rinse it off. Like, I need to take a shower. I'm like, can I use your bathroom? And oh my gosh, that was a funny experience. So I thought my tattoo was like botched, and it was just a big smear of black ink all over my shoulder blade. I honestly have never had that experience with any of my tattoos. Like, after that, it was so weird. So I had this like smear of just black ink across my chest, and I'm like, did I leave the bandage on too long? Like, what have I done? It was kind of funny, actually, looking back on it. And then when I rinsed it off, it was completely fine, and I was like, cool. So after I showered, I took like a bunch of pictures, like a bunch of pictures. I was taking selfies galore. I was a selfie hoe back then. I still am, but that's besides the point. So I was like posting it on Instagram, I was posting it on Facebook, I was posting it everywhere. I'm like, I'm getting, like, I got a tattoo, blah, 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 blah. Like, I was just taking pictures. So I went home. It was still like, I did this in like September, right? Or the end of September, beginning of October. So I was like wearing a jacket because it was obviously kind of cold. So my mom really never really noticed it when I came home, you know? The next day I actually went hiking, and I had it covered up again because I was just like wearing a, you know, like a hoodie or something on the way out of the house. Didn't really think anything of it. And then when my mom came home later on that night, I think I got home probably about 8 p.m. and then I passed out because hiking is very like, I hike mountains, you guys, like it's strenuous. So I think by like 8 p.m. that night I was already home. So she came upstairs and she was very calm and she basically was like, hey, how are you? How was your day? Blah, blah, blah. It was completely normal. And I was going to tell her eventually, but she was like, so can I see your new tattoo? And I was like, what? Like, how did you know about that? How did you know about that? Like, what the heck? Because my mom like never used to go on Facebook like that. And I was like, I legit had no idea how she knew. I was like, did my best friend like call you and tell you? Like, I honestly had no clue how she knew. And she was like, yeah, so okay, I'm gonna call this girl Tiana. So Tiana actually works with my mom, and she saw my post on Facebook, she saw my post on Instagram, she told my mom how much she liked my new tattoo and to tell me that she liked my new tattoo. And my mom was like, what? She got a tattoo? Like, she didn't even tell me. She's like, yeah, it's like all over Facebook, all over Instagram. Like, it looks really good. Can you tell her that I really like it or something? Like, I was like, really, Tiana? Like, you had to spill the tea like that. You had to spill the tea like that. That's funny. So, I honestly didn't even end up telling her. She found out from my friend slash her coworker. So, she was very calm about it. I was expecting her to be like really angry. I don't know why. Like, I was just expecting her to be angry and everything, and then she just wasn't. She was very understanding. She was like, oh, it actually looks really good. That must have been so painful because it's like on your shoulder blade. I'm like, no, it was like a really good experience. I told her about it and she's like, did you make sure they use new needles and stuff? You know, she was like being a mom, like asking questions like that. Did you go to a sanitary tattoo shop, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's pretty much how she found out about my first tattoo, and she was very like understanding ever since then. She actually came to my tattoo appointment the second time I got tattooed. I got 2 tattoos in one day and she ended up coming with me. So she just basically was saying that like my uncles in the Philippines had tattoos on their arms and stuff like that. It wasn't very like new to her. She just didn't think I would go through with it the first time or the second time, or like, this is gonna be my 8th tattoo that I'm getting. So she just, yeah, she was very understanding. It was very actually very shocking, and she was just telling me that a lot of her coworkers have like full sleeves and stuff like that. So yeah, it was very surprising to be honest with you. I was not expecting her reactions to be like that, and yeah, so that is the story of how I told my mom when I got my first tattoo and slash my first tattoo experience. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys soon. Bye everyone.